affecting your cognitive health. And I have seen him speak many, many times, and that's why I wanted him to join us today. He is fabulous and a wealth of knowledge as far as brain health. And nowadays, I think our brain health is just as important and ties really into the rest of our body as well. So please welcome Dr. David.
I am good. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Can we give Nancy and the Hofmann group and all the organizers a huge, that's right, a huge round of applause. What an amazing place. Are all the places you choose like as good as this?
I like to say, hey, we don't do anything halfway.
Amazing. Well, I have an excuse to come to a ritzy country club, so thank you very much. And it's an honor. Thank you for trusting me with your clients, your friends, your customers. Anyway, it's great to be here. I love doing what I do. I'll say a few things about myself. I'm a physician. I live in two worlds. I live both in Nigeria, where I'm from, and also in the US. So my first half of the day, because they're like 5 or 6 hours ahead of us, I have to deal with what's going on in Nigeria, and then the rest of the day. So right now I'm on borrowed time. But anyway, so we'll be talking about basically things, in my opinion, near and dear to my heart, and it should be near and dear to everyone's hearts, because as you all know, Baltimore is #1 in the country for dementia, right? Oh my God, you didn't know that? Oh, you're kidding, right? Seriously, you didn't know that? Okay? All right, well, you've learned something new already. My job's done. Yes, Baltimore's #1. Maryland is #1 among the states. All right. So if you think you're safe not living in Baltimore City, and you live in Maryland, you're not safe. A couple of reasons for that, which we probably won't go into now, but we will discuss some of these things. Let me see, where's the best place to stand? So I won't do it like this. Am I still in the frame of my camera there? Can you
yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, so how many of you, I know Nancy talked about her mother. My heart goes out to her. And how many of you are actually living or taking care of someone with dementia? Okay.
You are out of the camera.
Oh, that I'm out. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right.
All right, thank you. I have my cup of pink drink. Doing a shameless plug for those guys back there. They said they'll give me a commission if I did so. So I'm just kidding. It's a great drink. I mean, I'm going to be talking about some of the ingredients later on. Everybody needs to have a brain protection plan. We all know about the Witness Protection Program, right? This is a brain protection program. Everybody, and everybody's different. You got to realize that. I'm a black man, in case you haven't noticed. Then a white woman's brain protection plan is going to be very different from what I have to do, because our biologies are different, very different in some cases. There are things that make me more prone to having dementia, which are different from, like I said, a white woman's having more prone. And I think we have to address these nuances. That's the big gap I see here. And I'll just say a few things about how I came to be doing this. So, like I said, I run a foundation. We treat kids with severe brain damage free of charge. So everything from autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. I mean, we have nothing, right? I mean, I'm from people hate it when I say third world country, so maybe I say developing country, low resource country. We do not have all the expertise, the high class doctors, the high class medical institutions, the tests. We can do nothing. We can do nothing. So these people are very poor. So it tends to happen among poor people. They tend to have the worst medical conditions, and then they need the most help. So it's a vicious cycle. And so we had to learn from first principles how to help these people with brain damage. And again, it was free of charge, so many times I would have to come back and forth from the United States to learn the things I had to learn, and to get, we had to use nutrients. So I would get the nutrients that we needed, that the brain needed to repair itself. many times cap in hand, begging around, you know, getting help from wherever I could, and then take it back home. And that's how we learned how to really make a difference when it comes to brain conditions. Over the years, because of our success with children, adults started coming to us. And then we had to basically apply some of the same principles. We had to finagle a few things, but we had to apply them to adults. And that's how we're able to do so many things. I am so grateful for the United States. Almost everything I've learned has come from my coming here back and forth twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, to learn from these wonderful scientists, researchers, doctors, who gave up their time and in some cases gave up their money. This guy here, the older guy, he has a center in Chicago. They were charging $2,500 just for the meeting, the conference, and of course hotel bills, meeting, and all that. I called them and said, well, listen, I would like to come, but I can't expect. I can't afford $2,500. And what they do, they did it for me. They just said, fine, come over. What can you pay? $250. And I can pay $250. They said, okay, fine, come over. They paid for my hotel bills. They paid for everything. So all I paid was $250. So, and that has happened to me over and over again. So I am super grateful to be in a country like this. I don't think people really appreciate what country we are in. This is the greatest country on the planet. It doesn't matter what your politics are. This is you won the lottery being here. Because of our work, we won a series of awards, and that's because what we're doing works. People actually see the difference. It's not like a placebo or these trials where you deceive the person and say, you know how they do trials, right? We're giving you a sugar pill, but it's not actually medication. You can't do that with kids. It's either they're walking or they're not. It's either they're speaking or they're not. It's either they're crawling or they're not. And people were able to see the difference. So I say all that to give you a sort of background, because I'm going to say some things that are going to be very different from what your physician has told you. And this is not to cast any aspersions, but I'm just saying that this has come out of the experience and the medical. We do medical research as well, but this has come from a different place than what the traditional, conventional doctors come through. So I need your patience with me as I go through this. Can I get it?
Yes.
Promise?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if you do get upset, where's Nancy? Where'd she go? Nancy? Here. Oh, there she is. Take it up with her. She done it. It's all her fault. All right, so let's talk about what is Alzheimer's disease. And I want to be very clear. Alzheimer's disease is your brain saying enough. And it is shutting itself down. Okay. So your brain is saying enough. And it's like it is now shutting itself down. Now, for the rest of the talk, I'll be explaining how it got to that point and what you can do to prevent it from getting to that point. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yes.
Okay. And if it has already gotten to that point, there are also things that can be done once you understand the principles. And the finalizing, that's why I have this picture here, because it's like, it's in your hands. What we have found out is that this Alzheimer's disease just doesn't come out of the blue and just tackle you and bring you down. It's really, for I would say 95% of the time, this is a result of things that, and I don't want to blame you, but it has come as a result of things that either you failed to do or that you did that is harming your brain. I told you I'm going to say some nasty things, right? So just please stick with me. And so that's why I'm here, to help you know what those things are. So first story. Mike A. Born to an alcoholic mother, had a rough childhood. Went to high school, did not finish high school, joined the military. The military, he was put in some of the really worst parts of the world, suffered a few concussions, lost his friends, suffered PTSD, came back home, found out his wife had run off with his best friend, and took the 2 kids along. He's very bitter, unhappy, and turns to drugs. He can't get a job, so he's also very frustrated about that. Now over to Mike B. Mike B is born to a middle-class family, loving parents, loving everybody, wonderful high school, gets a great job, wealth management maybe. I wish I had done that. If I had lived my life again, doing wealth management, I promise you. Anyway, has a good wife. He's a volunteer in the community, a volunteer in church. Everyone loves him, loves everyone. Has a great kids, and proud of everybody. Now, when Mike A and Mike B turn to when they become 65, or they turn 65, which of them is more likely to have dementia or a brain that looks like this? The first one, Mike A. Does anybody think Mike B?
I do.
You think Mike B? Why? So yeah.
Well, because it seems like that he had such a perfect life, and maybe he doesn't know how to deal with situations.
Interesting. Interesting. I've done this several times. This is only the second time someone has come up with that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's not your fault. But unfortunately, not true. Because, and that's a good, I mean, I like it because obviously Mike A has had, I mean, he probably would have developed a lot of resilience as a result of the experience he has gone through, right? Of course. But in the final analysis, it has a lot to do with what goes on in your brain. It's what's an inflammation, right? Yeah. So inflammation is one of the many things, but it all has to do with what is going on or what damage has happened to your brain. So your mission, don't say it. Thank you. Should you choose to accept, thank you. Is to prevent this from becoming this. And that, by the way, this is 30% smaller than this. That's a lot of brain tissue. Yeah. A lot of competing power. Anyway, so it's really in your hands. It is not your doctor's responsibility. It's not your loved one's responsibility. It's not your friends, not your family. It's not even God's. It's certainly not the government's responsibility. This is your responsibility because this is what happens in your daily living. You are winning or losing. You are progressing or not progressing towards this as a result of the choices you make or the things that you allow to come. And many times what I'm seeing is that many people simply are unaware of what these things are. And so it's like walking off a cliff. I mean, I see it. Even among people who have lost their loved ones to the dementia, you ask them the question, what have you learned and what would you do differently? What do you think they say? They don't know. That is a tragedy. We should be learning from this. I mean, we know about breast cancer, we know about heart disease. Why don't we know what to do about brain health? So let's get to the basics. This is the best definition I've had of Alzheimer's disease, and this is by the Alzheimer's Association, a wonderful organization like Nancy mentioned. Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disease that is caused by complex brain changes following cell damage. Remember cell damage? So Mike A, sorry, had a lot more cell damage. Cell meaning neuron. It leads to dementia symptoms that gradually worsen over time. Let's unpack that. So first step, damage, brain changes, degeneration. The problem I have, it's not perfect, and the problem I have with this definition is that, well, first of all, how does cell damage lead to complex brain changes that lead to dementia? I mean, that seems to me like a huge presumptive leap. I mean, I've treated, like I said, thousands of patients with brain damage, kids as well as adults. Most of them don't progress to dementia, even if we didn't treat them. What is the missing piece here? And then besides that, I mean, I have patients with strokes, Parkinson's, they've had cell damage, but they don't progress to dementia. They don't have the complex brain changes that progress to dementia. The other question I have is what is causing this? What kind of cell damage are we talking about? And what is it that leads to cell damage? So that's what we're going to be looking into. So what I did is I came up with from teaching and treating. That's the advantage people like me have. I don't just teach about it, I treat. So what we found out is that there are about 12 different pathways. Everybody say 12 different pathways.
12 different pathways.
Oh, that's just pitiful. Let's try again. 12 different
pathways.
Perfect. I love it. Love you already. All right. So I came up with this called Dementia's Dirty Dozen. Can you all see this? And can you see these words in here or no? No. Okay. Let's try this one. All right. So can you see this now? All right. So these are what stands out? What? Yeah, there you go. They all begin with the letter I. It took me a long time, folks. I mean, I was like, this took me a long time. I got to about 7. I was like, golly, what if we could make it 12? I started searching and anyway, we finally figured it out. So, I mean, some we had to finagle. So, which one stands out to you here?
Inactivity, isolation.
Inactivity, isolation, yes. Believe it or not, that's a huge problem. They're now showing actual structural damage in the brain for people who are lonely and isolated. All right, what else? Insomnia? During sleep is when your brain builds its memories, it repairs itself, it detoxifies itself. Very important. So somebody said something else. What? Injuries. So it's not just emotional, it's not just physical injuries like strokes or trauma, brain trauma. We're also talking about emotional trauma as well. That can result in structural damage. So you can see with Mike A had injuries, he probably had insults. People usually ask me about this. Nobody asked me about this. So the insults have to do with chemical damage, environmental pollution, toxins, smoking, alcohol. I mean, I say that reservedly, but yeah, and to some extent it has issues. And then there's another. I don't want to get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So forever chemicals, absolutely, plastics, microplastics, and so on. So these are all the things. With Mike A, you had all these issues, right? So he had insults, he had injuries, he had isolation, he had trauma. Yeah, trauma from losing his wife and kids. So you need to understand that it's never just one thing. It is, I came up with this really unique, I know that's bad grammar, but really different name. And I think it's brilliant. It's called the pile on. I'm just kidding. That's not unique. Okay, so anyway, so we can't go into that too much. There's a QR code we'll get back to later. You can actually download the book free of charge, where I actually treat each of them. And so, back to the missing pieces. We now know what causes the cellular damage, what now leads to the complex brain changes. And so, this is what we've been talking about. This is a brief overview of what your brain does. So your brain does a lot of things, right? The conscious and the unconscious. The unconscious taking care of the bodily processes, breathing, circulation, so on and so forth, right? It's also the conscious process. Speech, this is what separates us from, I guess, every other beast. Movement, emotion regulation, all these different things are going on. You're sitting down, you're listening to me, a lot of things are going on. Your brain controls everything. For it to do that, it needs a lot of stimulation, it needs a lot of rest, it needs a lot of exposure to nature, it needs challenge, it needs to travel. I mean, okay, it's not going to die if you don't get travel, but it's one of those things that really help the brain. Novelty, the things that help the brain improve. Okay, these are all the different things that you want to use to benefit your brain health. Okay, now if it does not get all the things that it needs, and your brain is like 20, it's 2%. You all know this, right? It's 2% of your body weight, but yet it requires over 20% of all the energy and all the glucose that your body requires. Huge energy hog, all right? So if it's not getting all that, what happens? Things begin to slow down, things begin to go a little awry, and let's look at some of them. So obviously you have memory problems, you have mood problems. We all know this, right? Some people, I think, am I the only one who is willing to admit that things kind of slow down, you know? Some of you can relate, yes, to some of you. All right, so you have all kinds of problems. And then it also, part of what the brain does is it removes certain proteins from itself. usually during sleep. So those proteins we have heard of, amyloid plaques and tau tangles. Okay? So if it is not having the tools and the nutrients and the wherewithal to do what it needs to do to remove those plaques and tangles, they will accumulate in the brain. Okay? We'll get to that later. So what happens is that once it's not getting what it needs, it now has to do like a triage in it. It now has to ruthlessly begin to cut and remove and decide what is essential and what is not essential. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So some of you are business owners here. What happens when the economy is bad? You know, things aren't doing as well. What happens? You begin to cut back, right? So first of all, the private jet that has to go, right? And then you have to do first class. Wait, you mean I have to be in the same plane with other humans? The horror. How do you like my home alone face? I like it. Did I do a good job? Okay, thank you. All right, so this is where the disaster is. And I say not just that Alzheimer's disease itself is a disaster. Of course it is. But the disaster is that most healthcare professionals do not know what I just told you. And because, and again, not throwing any shade, these are things that are just beginning to come out. And so because they don't know it, we're not intervening when we should. So this is I know it's a little busy. So you have the dementia dirty dozen here, all affecting the brain, attacks, insults, and so on. And then what happens is basically the brain tries to respond or repair the damage. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it succeeds, but this is going over decades. We're not talking about 2 years. We're talking about early 40s or even younger than that this thing is happening. You didn't know anything about it because your brain was compensating for it. But it's a continuous vicious cycle that just keeps on going. And eventually, when things really begin to go down, you have what is known as mild cognitive impairment. Anybody heard of that? Yes. Okay, so that's where about 50% of the resource, the brain is basically surviving on about 50% of the energy. I mean, things are clearly wrong, but the person is still living pretty much independently. Now, when it falls, when the depletion is about 60%, in other words, you have only about 40% left. That's when you've got full-blown dementia. That's when you begin to see and this changes with everybody else. I mean, so some people would begin to have mood changes. Some people would begin to not be able to pay attention. Some people may not. Everything might be okay, but they just aren't able to initiate certain tasks. For instance, you have a knife and fork in front of you. It's time to eat. You don't know which one to use. So someone has to basically put the fork in your hand, and then once they put the fork in your hand, you're good to go. But this changes. I mean, sometimes you may, for one day, you may not recognize your spouse and not know who she is. And I've actually had patients, not my patients, but patients who they walk around together every evening in this particular place. Usually go for a walk, enjoy the community and whatever. Come back home and then they get their packet, their mail, and start going through their mail together. Well, this time, one of those days, she gets home first. She picks up the mail. She's going through it. He walks in and he says, "Who the hell are you?"
Oh, wow.
And then he becomes very, very aggressive because he thinks it's a burglar. Okay. That is a case of the brain not being able to make the connections it needs to make, and it is constantly pruning and making new connections, even as we're sitting now. And that takes a lot of energy. And once it doesn't have the energy it requires, it's going to make mistakes. Okay. I don't know if I should say anything about this, but I'm not saying dementia causes divorce, okay? Or divorce causes dementia. I'm not saying either. But it can. So I told you, I come from Nigeria. Growing up, So I never knew anybody who had gone through a divorce. Even into my adult life. Not that anything is wrong with it. You have to leave, you have to leave. But, so everything I know comes from watching TV, right? Dallas, Dynasty. So when I was thinking about how to relate this message, right? I was like, okay, it's kind of like the long-suffering, usually it's the wife, right? This long-suffering wife who's like, she's taking all this, he's cheating, she doesn't say anything about it, he misses her birthday, he forgets the wedding anniversary. I mean, a lot of things that he should know better about, right? And then eventually something, maybe a life-changing event happens, and maybe in like a concert, for instance, it all comes out. So when I told this joke, this was closer to that Coldplay event, remember that? So when I said it, then everybody got it, but okay, there's been some time. Anyway, bottom line, that's kind of like what happens. The brain is long-suffering, it's taking all this, it's giving you all these warnings, it's giving you the red signs, you're not heeding it, and then eventually what happens is that it says enough, right? And it begins to shut down. Now let me ask you this, when the wife, sorry ladies, when the wife says enough, and that she's leaving, will buying a nice birthday card fix it? How about buying a nice Porsche for anniversary? Well, you are some mean ladies, come on. Give the fella a chance. The men I notice are not saying anything. So. Alright, so what is happening? So the brain is cutting itself out. Do plaques matter? Of course they do. Do tangles matter? These are the proteins in the brain that medical science is specifically targeting as a way to fix the problem. But I would say that you also have to attend to this other thing I talked about, which is the energy depletion. And it's not just energy depletion, we also have to repair the damage that has been done. And all that is possible. I say it's possible because I do that every time. We do that through our foundation with kids, and of course we do it with adults as well. In my experience, there's really no such thing as impossible if you give the brain what it needs. And that is the problem, we just don't know to do that. Okay, so there's a method to the madness, folks. It's not just random, as I said. This is kind of like a busy slide too, but basically what the brain does is that it triages which parts are the most energy requiring, and it targets them first. So obviously the things that make us most human, our ability to judge, to plan ahead. So that's part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. It deals with executive function. That is a lot of energy for obvious reasons. Same thing with speech, same thing with memory. That's why people notice it's memory. Memory is usually the first thing that people notice. And I gotta tell you, you could have dementia and not have anything wrong with your memory. Yes, really. Yeah. You can have dementia and not have anything, but you could have problems with executive function, problems with navigation, problems with behavior. It's still dementia. Because people, and I really hate the term memory care, because it's not just about memory. The brain is failing. And if you're going to do anything about the brain, you've got to start with feeding it. And we just aren't doing that, sorry. We just aren't doing that. Is there any chance you can help me move that a little bit so I can?
No, you have to get up and you have to move it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm giving some work here. I'll give you part of the commission Brian and Jeff give me. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so that's what we have to. So it is a failing brain. So what do we do? What are we supposed to do? And this is getting very important. This is not slowing down. This is not slowing down, folks. Since the pandemic, it's just like, right? What's that thing in Star Wars where you just like, it's flying normally, the spaceship is going normally, and then all of a sudden,
Warp speed.
is it warp speed? So Star Trek is warp speed.
Yeah.
What is it in Star Wars?
I don't know.
Hyperdrive? I don't know. Okay. So This is getting worse, especially since the pandemic. A lot of people who had problems with smell, it seems like they have a higher risk of developing dementia than others who do not have problems with smell. Not to scare you, but the smell center is very important to brain function. So the numbers are going to increase. It's particularly concerning to me, obviously, for obvious reasons, because it's going to triple in black people. But it's not just about black people. So I have, this is why you really have to understand these things for yourself. So I came up with what I called this keeping your marbles framework. Do you like that term? Yeah. Your marbles? Yeah, I like it too. So if you look at this right now, so this is like a fortress, right? Think of your brain as what is inside. The citizens, they're the ones making all the trades, raising the providing money for taxes to keep the king happy. You can't see clearly now, but you will see soldiers on the walls. Of course, you see the moats and then the bridge there. So these are all amazing how the brain and the body have different mechanisms to protect the brain, which is the most vital organ in the body, right? So these are all working together. What happens is that when you turn like 40s and 50s, and I'm looking around the room now, and you're gonna see 50-ish, let's put it that way. So you're already beginning to see cracks it's not clear enough, but you're gonna begin to see cracks, the moats tends to get filled up and all that. Those are things that are happening over time, as to be expected, right? So the goal is to what? So what we know is that when people have dementia, it's because the defenses are not as strong as they should be, and then they have greater attacks. So these are the attacks on their brain, and that's because sometimes it's just because you've lived in this world all this time. So over time, the attacks accumulate. You have your like I said, your defenses get weakened, and then the third thing is that once things begin to go wrong, you don't get adequate intervention. Like I said, some of these things, like I'm going to give you a few examples. I developed this when I was, because I volunteered with the Alzheimer's Association, and my goal was to reach the black community, because I was like, we have way worse, twice as bad. And I was like, we've got to find a framework to teach these people with. And I realized this, cardiovascular disease is a big problem for dementia. It's one of those major pathways, so hypertension, diabetes, and so on, major pathways to dementia. Where is that most? In the black community. Then one of the greatest protectors of the brain is a vitamin called vitamin D. We have, black people have the lowest vitamin D levels. And this, what?
You get to sit in the sun.
You have to sit in the sun. What did you say? Black people don't sit in the sun?
You have to sit in the sun.
That is one of the greatest mysteries I've seen. I've seen this. I mean, my apologies, black people, but I just don't see black people in the sun as much as white people.
Does it not absorb through your skin as much?
Yeah, but the melanin, it blocks it out. So even if you sit in the sun, you're not making much of it. Right. And then the other thing was that, and many times, even in my country, and dementia is growing in my country, we're beginning to see huge, greater numbers, because we don't like going to see the doctor for a brain condition. So these are the three things that happen, and so I was like, okay, and now I realize this is a bigger problem than black people. Everybody had this issue, so I'm applying this to everybody. So the solution is what? To reduce the attacks, maybe avoid, neutralize, increase your protections, and then know what tests. So working intelligently with your healthcare provider, knowing what they are not going to be ordering many of the tests that you need to have to know the status of your brain. Sometimes you might have to fight for them. For a good example is vitamin D. It seems like a bat signal went out that do not test vitamin D unless there's a strong indication. I tried to get my vitamin D tested. The nurse practitioner said, no, we can't do it. I had to argue with her.
Is it a plot?
Oh, I don't know, ladies. What is that? I don't understand this. I love this country. Some things I don't understand. Anyway, so these are the top three you want to be concerned about. These are three groups that have the highest risk, that have twice the risk of dementia as the rest of the population. You've got the veterans, you've got blacks, and ladies, you got ladies. Women have twice. You didn't know that either?
No.
It's not fair, but that's what it is, folks. Okay, so anyway, I'm really concerned about this because I fall into two of these categories, and just in case you're wondering which two, I'm referring to the fact that somebody there was wondering, right? Yeah. All right, so it's really bad. Not only is it bad with women, but you all are obviously caregivers, whether loved ones or professionals. 30%, I did not know this, 30% of them are daughters. It's a huge burden, so we've got to do something about it. Now, I started doing a weekly podcast where we specifically target support, the supporters, the caregivers of loved ones, because I feel you all need to be supported. 42% of caregivers will die before their loved one who has the dementia dies. Okay, so one of the reasons, so let's talk about women, because clearly there's a lot more of you here than others. One of the things that stand out why women have it worse is because one of the greatest protectors of the brain, other than vitamin D, is estrogen, specifically estradiol, the female hormone. That is one of the greatest protectors. What happens during menopause? Decline. And you see this decline here. So around 58 or 50, in some cases, in some women, it's a steep decline, and some women never catch up. That estrogen is what is responsible for a whole bunch of things: bone strength and joint strength, for heart health, and of course for brain health. The estrogen controls a lot of functions in the brain. So once you lose that amount of estrogen, you see a whole bunch of different things going on. And this is what happens when your estrogen levels. Did you catch that or no? Okay, good. So it affects, the deficiency of estrogen affects not just the brain, but affects a lot of other things. So one of the things that I always recommend is, ladies, you gotta build those muscles. It can solve so many problems. Now I'm not saying you need to do the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, but the leg muscles, especially those sitting up and standing up, try to do that by yourself. Because if a fracture happens, God forbid, it is, in some cases, that is it. And some, not just your hip, many will die within that year. And not just that, but can affect other things like it can spark off a dementia diagnosis. Anyway, so I do give talks specifically to women. Alright, so this is Jill, that's Janelle's daughter. Janelle is 80. And so I was talking about this same thing I just mentioned right now, and she asked me to talk about it some more. And so after the talk, she walks up to me and she does this big smile on her, and she does this, and she flexes, right? And she's like, feel that. And I'm like, I did. And folks, I don't know what we talked about after that. All I know is everything I said after that was yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. I'm not gonna mess with you. I mean, those guns, you should have seen those guns. All right, so basically, is dementia reversible? Well, that's a silly question. There are dementias that are specifically called reversible dementias. Okay. I mean, you just have this dementia brush painted on everyone. There are about 200 different kinds of dementia. Many of them are clearly reversible. Some may just need one single nutrient, vitamin B12, for instance, right? And others are not so. There's something called normal pressure hydrocephalus, where the fluids build in the brain. A simple neurosurgical procedure could reverse that. But yet, everybody's diagnosed with dementia, and everybody's told to just go home, put your affairs in order, and then get ready for the final fate. So what we do, and I kind of alluded to this, what happens if you're treating the brain, which we've done now for decades, maybe it's a little bit over a decade since I really focused on brain health. If you're treating on the brain, you cannot focus only on the brain, because the other systems of the body, the brain relies on the other systems of the body for its support. So just focusing on just treating the brain with medications and not taking care of other things like the digestive system, like the hormonal system, the endocrine, estrogen. We talked about protecting things like sleep, blood flow, and so on. Is that for me? Yeah, yes, so so we talked about this a little bit. So where we failed over and over and over again when we first started trying to treat dementia, because obviously we're coming from a children's background, working with kids, and we failed over and over again. Let me ask you this. Well, you can accuse kids of a lot of things, right? Not having judgment, not being able to sit still, just being a complete nuisance. Right? I mean, grandparents, you probably never feel that way, but what is the one thing you cannot accuse children of not having?
Energy.
Exactly. And this is where we kept on going wrong. Once we understood how to do this, everything else began to fall in place. Now, I'm not saying that we get complete reversal, but I can guarantee you there's a lot you can do to improve the brain health of your loved one. Now, after I said this, I spoke at the senior center. This black lady nurse walks up to me and she's like, had this really worried look on her. She's like, do you have security? Yeah, because you probably need it. I'm like, I'm from Africa, man. Lady, we've dealt with the worst things in Africa, with wars and damage and da-da-da-da-da. It's kind of like flexing a little bit. Wakanda forever, that kind of thing. And then a few minutes later, one idiot pops a balloon behind me, and nobody said anything about loud noises. Come on. All right, so let's do some action steps. These are some basic things that I feel that you need to know about. Sugar is a big problem, so are processed foods. Those are toxins to your brain. You need to know what to do to mitigate, to reduce the damage that those are surely causing. And the older you are, the less you are able to take care of those things. Another I that I want to put there, but it's already a dozen, so there's no space, so I'm fitting somewhere else. It's called iatrogenic. Anybody know what that means? Doctor caused. Are you a doctor, sir? Yeah. Okay. Has it happened to you?
No, just a physical therapist.
Ah, got it. Okay, thank you. So iatrogenic is caused by the doctor, which means many of these medications, especially for you all seniors, sometimes your doctors don't talk to each other. So you have the cardiologist giving one thing, the nephrologist giving another thing, the brain doctor giving another thing, and they're compounding. And this can cause a lot of damage. Just anesthesia itself, general anesthesia itself, can, in some cases, it happened to you?
That's what happened to my husband.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're going to watch out for those things. Bottom line is that you cannot control everything, but you can and you must control the health and the protection of your brain. And there are different things you can do to do that. One of them obviously is sleep. I don't know what it is with ladies though. I don't know what it is with you ladies, but you all are comfortable not sleep. You tell me you don't sleep, and it's like, that's part of life. We had kids, so we don't sleep much. And you all accept it. You mustn't. That's one of the greatest protections you have for your brain. And there are a lot of things. There are not just medical, but there are a lot of things you can do to correct that. All right, I always recommend vitamin D3. The Alzheimer's Association did a study showing that you can reduce your risk of dementia by as much as, can anybody guess?
50.
Oh, you are right. 50% for women, 40% for everybody else. So you all should be on, and so the range is, your blood range of vitamin D is about 30 to 100. 30 to 100 is the range. Most doctors are okay with you having 27 or 28. From what I've seen, the closer to 100 for you, the better. The closer to 100. It's just measurements. It's called nanograms per mil. So what's called blood levels for vitamin D. Blood levels. The range is 30 to 100. If I were you, there's an Alzheimer's Association back there. Debbie, right? Ellen, I'm sorry, Perry Collins. Ellen Perry Collins. Get with her, they have the data, and they can show you the data. It's on their website, where it shows that vitamin D, they've done a double-blind placebo-controlled studies and show that vitamin D can reduce your risk of dementia by as much as 40%. Why don't you know this? All right, another thing you want to, the gum disease is very important. I think my time is up, so yes, ma'am.
What dose would you say?
I cannot say that. I'm not your doctor.
Would you recommend a blood test?
I would recommend a blood test first. But remember, you're not always going to get somebody to I mean, in Africa, we don't even have where you can do simple things as simple as vitamin D. So I always recommend a safe range that I've seen that works. And like I said, I can't say the problem. So like I said, your brain needs all kinds of stimulation, it has all kinds of needs. The more aware of these needs, the more aware of what your brain needs and knowing how to fulfill those needs, the better off your brain will be. I just want to end with this. So smell, hearing, and sight. We now know that these things can increase, loss of these things can increase your risk of dementia. Hearing, 2.5%. The smell was a surprise for me too. Because again, part of it is you need stimulation. I'm just going to rush through these. I'll skip back if you have questions. You need a plan. I really recommend that people, from what I've seen, most people simply do not know what to do about this. So we give those services, help you guide you through the process. So like I said, I have the podcast going on every week. I do take patients and clients. I'm not licensed here, so you all need to know that. So I don't take insurance. I don't take anything. But people have to sign a lot of disclaimers to work with me, and basically it's sometimes a 3-week thing, sometimes a 3-month thing. A 3-month thing where we take you by the hand. We look at where the weaknesses are, we look at where your strengths are, and we help you develop a plan that you can use for the rest of your life. But you've got to be on a brain protection plan. It makes no sense to me that people don't have one. It makes no sense to me. Okay? So you want to go from this is the most important thing. And just in case I haven't mentioned it before, Think Drink is one of those things that help to boost your energy levels because it has something called creatine. Maybe you've heard about it. I think every adult should be on it. And has a few other things too that are extremely, extremely important for boosting your energy levels. Think Drink is on back there. Creatine, Reishi, and what's the other one now? Lion's mane. Very important for brain connections between the brain cells. So, all right. I think I've gone over time, so I just want to say a big thank you for your time. Okay, so I will be around for lunch and we'll hang around. So if you have any questions, we also have flyers that we'll put on.
Yes, so over on the Hofmann Home Group table, he'll have flyers if you want to sign up. He'll have a sign up page for newsletter and information.
Yes, and then for our next series of classes, I'll be doing a series of classes at the Meyerberg Center beginning in May every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I believe. And if you want a 15-minute free consultation, that's my QR code. You can get on. You can go. It takes you directly to my calendar, so you can book a call with me. No problem. We can go over some things if you need to. All right. Thank you very much again.
Great, thank you so much, David. That was awesome. I'm going to leave the QR code up for just a minute. Anybody wants to scan it, but he's not going anywhere. Dr. David will be here. He'll have a sign-up sheet over there, so please. And our afternoon presenter, we have a registered dietitian who will be here who is going